www.getattraction.com. Chapter 1. The Mystery Behind Casanova. If teachers and parents taught subjects in their order of importance to the males receiving their wisdom, history lessons wouldn't invoke Greek philosophers and ancient mystics, presidents and kings, warriors and generals. They would focus instead on Casanova, history's most accomplished and successful lover. He was born in Venice, Italy in 1725, and he died in 1798, numbers that are less important than these. By his own account, over those 73 years, Casanova enjoyed erotic liaisons with 122 women during his travels across Europe as a clergyman, soldier, violinist, and magician. In 18th-century France, nobody had more game. But Casanova didn't seduce indiscriminately. He set his sights high, and took to bed only those women whose value made them worthy of pickup. These were the perfect tens and near tens of their day, what a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model might have looked like at one of Mozart's recitals, floating from one social set to the next, glancing discreetly over a ruffled fan that obscured a plunging bust line, her hairdo intricately sculpted 3 feet high. They were women of extreme beauty with the highest social ranking, seemingly off-limits to anyone but royalty. Forget Shakespeare's sonnets, the Gettysburg Address, and War and Peace. If Casanova had left behind not just an autobiography, itself wildly popular to this day, but a step-by-step detailed how-to guide to his sexual conquests, it would rank as the most sought-after text in history, next to Holy Scriptures. What wouldn't you or any man give to learn the secret of seducing beautiful women? Just look at the timeless appeal of the Kama Sutra, and then imagine a guide not to exotic sexual positions, but to getting beautiful women attracted to you in the first place. My name is Mystery, and I have written just such a guide, now in your hands. As the world's premier pickup artist, I am the closest thing there is to a modern-day Casanova, although I have already outnumbered him. Like my predecessor, I absolutely adore women. In fact, I fall in love with all of them. But that doesn't make me unique. What makes me unique is that because of the pickup techniques I have mastered, my love doesn't go unrequited. And I'm here to show you how to achieve the same success. The algorithm for getting women. Not only were the Venusian arts, the arts of love, excluded from your curriculum, but they're probably the only discipline teachers didn't try to cram into your brain as you passed from childhood through adolescence and then into adulthood. Let's face it, when you studied algebra at school, the only numbers you really cared about were the measurements of the girl in the tight sweater and the digits you needed to get her on the phone. Those numbers added up to something worth getting your hands on. Enter the mystery method. If someone doesn't have health and wants to get it, he or she will need to adopt an algorithm on how to do that, perhaps a new diet and workout regimen. If someone doesn't have wealth and wants to get it, he or she will need to adopt an algorithm for wealth building, perhaps a new investment portfolio. Similarly, in relationships, if someone doesn't have success and wants to get it, he or she will need to adopt the algorithm for success there. I invented that algorithm. I am your teacher, and this is your guidebook to discerning the patterns in dynamic social interactions and then using them to your advantage. This body of knowledge, called the science of social dynamics, has become my life's work, particularly as it applies to the world of pickup. It is about more than seduction and sexual conquest. It also encompasses making friends with men and women alike. But make no mistake, it is first and foremost about getting laid, more than you could ever have dreamed possible, assuming that's what you want. And not just laid, but like Casanova, laid by those gorgeous women who have always seemed beyond reach. For him, it was members of the aristocracy. For you, I'm talking about the women you see walking runways in stiletto heels, on the arms of pro athletes and celebrities, and in the pages of Playboy and Maxim. You can have them. The mystery method can give them to you. Mastering the science of courtship. The mystery method provides a step-by-step game plan that structures courtship, which is the quaint old-fashioned term for the sequence of events that results in guys getting laid, for success. Before me, no one had ever defined courtship as a predetermined structure having several phases. Through years of study and experimentation, I identified a process that begins when you meet a woman who interests you. From there, using a finely calibrated ability to influence, not manipulate, there's a huge difference, which this book will help you develop, you build attraction with her. This concept is hugely important. Attraction comes before seduction. But attraction, while necessary, isn't an end in itself. Next, you need to build comfort with this woman you've targeted. As you'll find out, both are equally necessary for reaching the end game, sex. As I teach courtship, the process of building attraction and comfort will probably transpire over several venues, say a bar and a restaurant, en route to the final venue, which will likely be your bed or a hotel room's. That won't happen, however, until you create arousal at the end of the comfort-building stage, and then begin a sexual relationship by seducing her. That's what the mystery method does. What it is an advanced algorithm 13 years in the making. I created it through years of trial and error because I had to. When I was starting out, there was no guidebook like the one you have now. I didn't have the luxury of buying a book like this, or attending a seminar, or Googling pickup artist online. Armed with nothing but ignorance and desire, I went out into, quote, the field, close quote, because that's where the girls were. Step by step, I learned first how to open. Once I learned how to open, I also discovered empirically that in public settings, girls of beauty are seldom, if ever, alone. So then I had to get good at opening an entire group, and so on, until my system for seducing women became comprehensive, battle-tested, and turnkey. Honestly, had I read a guidebook like this when I was starting out, I would have saved myself about 7 years of pain and confusion. Since its conception, the mystery method has been modified by some of my closest friends, most of whom were former students of mine, who got caught up to speed on my techniques and became great pickup artists in their own right. Just as my students have learned their craft from me, I have in turn learned much from them, and the insights they gained in the field have improved my own methodology. Like any system of self-improvement and personal transformation, the mystery method is constantly being improved. It will always be a work in progress, because the people using it are constantly changing as well. To keep it up to date with the latest empirical data available, I make systematic improvements every 6 months without fail. You can keep up with our refinements and new discoveries at www.mysterymethod.com. Unlock the secret to attracting beautiful women. If you follow the mystery method, as outlined in this book, you literally should be able to seduce any woman you meet, no matter how attractive she is, and no matter how far out of reach she seems, within 4 to 10 hours, with the average seduction occurring within 7, leading to what I call the 7-hour rule. Bear in mind that those 7 hours aren't necessarily continuous, although they can be. As I noted, usually taking courtship to seduction requires venue changes, which have to be accommodated through what are called time bridges. More on those later. Seducing any woman in 7 hours? How is this possible? The reason the mystery method works, and works so quickly, is that it defines the natural process of courtship, from meeting to sex, that has applied to every love story you've ever heard about, or read, or experienced. It reflects universal truths and the natural course of events, and I've backward engineered it from my own successes. I would go in, build a girlfriend, and then think, okay, how did I do that? That's how I figured out and unraveled the myriad of cognitive models that define courtship. Okay, you're probably thinking, of course I'd love to build attraction and comfort with a gorgeous woman, but every time I approach one, I get shot down before I finish my second or third sentence. Here's the deal, and it's one of the most amazing secrets of the mystery method because it is so counterintuitive, running contrary to everything you've believed about attracting beautiful women your entire life. In order for you to be permitted the audience of a beautiful woman, to attempt to attract her, you must first disqualify yourself from being considered a potential suitor by her. If you don't do that, she will assume by your approach alone that you're after her. And if you're after her, she knows that you perceive her as having high value. And if her value is high, the odds are that it's higher than yours. In other words, you will have low value, and you will be penalized, not only just for approaching her, but also for being nice. At that point, you've already telegraphed that you're not worth it. I will teach you how to avoid this trap using the mystery method. Instead of stumbling into a group of women blindly and immediately qualifying yourself as a potential suitor, you will learn how to win them over during those first few minutes, allowing you to demonstrate a higher value to them. The book will of course give you chapter and verse on demonstrating a higher value, from peacocking, dressing outlandishly, and pre-selecting, displaying other women to the target, which often builds a jealousy plotline into your seduction, to social proof, showing that others in her set value you highly, to negging, making subtle yet negative statements that put your target off guard and make her question her own value, increasing yours on a relative basis. There is even a special section on demonstrating higher value to, and then picking up, hired guns, a term describing anyone who is hired for her beauty, including exotic dancers, bartenders, go-go dancers, hostesses, and models. In fact, throughout the entire book, I fill in the meeting-to-sex structure of courtship with Venusian arts gambits, so that you can complete the objectives of each phase. But I go further still by adding a third layer to the book. I show you how to personalize your game, helping you create and then convey an identity whose stereotype works for you to presume higher value. The last thing I want to do is turn you into a generic cookie-cutter pickup artist. Using the mystery method, I picked up a supermodel as she sat with 7 co-workers at a popular Hollywood sushi bar. While they paid the bill, I had only 2 or 3 minutes to interact. I immediately initiated a chat with her, disqualified myself from being considered a potential suitor, and systematically demonstrated my value to her while not telegraphing interest. When my target's group left, she decided to hang by the bar with 2 friends. To develop social proof, I opened an adjacent 4 set, 2 girls, 2 guys, and disarmed the guys who soon departed. With 2 women on my arms, I re-engaged my target, now in a 3 set. Introducing my wing into the set to befriend and occupy my target's friends for a moment, I moved her into isolation, escalated Kino, and voila! I got my first supermodel. Once you've mastered the techniques I outline here, you too can perform equally spectacular seductions. Building a mystery. I can do it for you because I've done it for myself. Believe it or not, when I was younger, I was actually an extremely shy person. No wonder I became fascinated by magic. I loved hiding behind it. It afforded me a social mask, protecting me in my interactions with people. Magic provided me with pre-scripted routines, packing an emotional punch. The turning point for me came in my late teens, when I traveled to Florida to perform a magic show on a cruise ship. Before I could even get scheduled on the ship, I found myself making more money performing intimate and interactive illusion in restaurants and lounges. In fact, I did so well in the restaurants that I never bothered to make it on board. More important, the experience taught me a series of essential concepts. For example, in that setting, you shouldn't just walk up to a table of strangers and say, "Hi, would you like to see some magic?" The easiest thing for someone to say in that situation is no. So I had to come up with a series of techniques for being cool. That way, they would actually want me to be there. Then I had to internalize these rules that I developed so that over repeated days of work, I'd get better and better at it. Eventually, I found myself in possession of a really cool social skill set. Then I came to realize that I could remove the magic from those routines, and they would still pack a punch. I got good at developing stories and plot lines with which I could captivate a group, and that became the basis of forming routines and using canned material. I then started teaching these skills to my friends. They mastered them, and so can you. If you're thinking, "Yeah, that worked for you, but it will never work for me. I'm a geek." Don't worry, I was a geek too. The truth is, generally speaking, geeks are intelligent individuals who simply haven't yet applied that intelligence to social scenarios. Hence, they appear deficient in that area. Making matters worse, the society around us at first glance appears very chaotic. But when you look at all other human beings as beautiful, elegant biological machines embedded with sophisticated behavioral systems designed to align with others to maximize their chances for survival and replication, the task of understanding humanity and your place in it becomes surmountable. Not only was I myself a geek, but I've also taught the mystery method to other geeks. And you know what? They're not geeks anymore. And neither will you be. With me as your friend and guide, you'll start uploading Venusian arts programming into your behavioral system, and then practice and internalize it, so you won't have to think about picking up. It will just happen naturally when the moment arises. By reading this book, all you're doing is hanging out with a guy who figured it out. I figured it out. I know how. I know for a fact that I know how because I have a girlfriend. Along those same lines, this book also will work wonders for you if your relations with women have been hindered by your perception, true or not, that you are physically unattractive. In fact, you have less to worry about than the geek, because the attraction circuits of women are calibrated to find a man attractive not measured primarily by handsomeness or physique, but rather by social value. It's not as much about looks as it is about conveying that you are the tribal leader. Allow me to explain. A woman's job is to survive and replicate. To achieve those ends, she will align herself with anyone who can assist her in that survival and replication. The more S&R value the person has, the merrier. So the powerful leader of a tribe might be old, fat, and bald, but aligning with him will greatly improve her chances of survival and replication because of his power to protect her. To use a more modern-day analogy, how many times have you seen a gorgeous woman with a brick-house body on the arm of an older, hunched-over man who looks like he would need a forklift to get it up? You and I both know that guy owns a nightclub or some apartment buildings. He sure as hell isn't working at a car wash. So if you aren't the easiest guy on the eyes, I will show you how to become the tribal leader within your own family, community, and circle of friends. Even if it takes you several years to become one, that's what you have to be. If you're not a geek, and you're not physically unattractive, but you fail in your efforts to seduce women because you're shy, don't worry. I too was shy. One of the great things about the mystery method is that, initially at least, you can hide behind stock routines and canned material, using them as tools for social dynamic interaction and the enjoyment of performing light-hearted social experiments. In this way, I will show you how to educate yourself and attain social intelligence. Being shy just means that you're scared to interact with other people. If you feel lonely, if you feel bad, those emotions exist for a purpose, to motivate you to improve your chances of survival and replication. You do that by aligning with other human beings who have S&R value. You're designed for social dynamic interaction. Your brain is hardwired for you to be a social robot. Rooted in evolutionary behavioral psychology, the mystery method will help you align with your brain's design and work to break free of your shyness, improving your life dramatically. Like I said, I was very shy as a kid. Yet step by step, through countless approaches, I met more people, and I started discovering the patterns of interaction, that there is a natural sequence of events that takes place in every such interaction. The more I learned about it, the more prepared I was, the less fear I had. That's what this book does. It prepares you to improve your life when you're ready, in a way and at a pace that's comfortable for and unique to you. That brings me full circle to my final point of this chapter. Why do I choose Casanova for my role model, as opposed to, say, Don Juan? After all, Don Juan is famous, or notorious, depending on your perspective, for having slept with thousands of women, while Casanova only had 122 by his own account. But the reason that I favor Casanova, and he is still today so popular, his very name is now synonymous with seduction, is because he was picky. Casanova, on the one hand, had really nice, classy women. The fictional character Don Juan, on the other hand, was more like the literary equivalent of Wilt Chamberlain. He basically screwed anything that moved. So given the choice, I've had fewer women than I could have had, because I say no far more than I say yes. On that note, turn the page and join me as we begin on your journey to pick up mastery. Chapter 2. The Ultimate Purpose of Life. Without survival, there is no life. All life on Earth has been designed by evolutionary processes to replicate. This is nature's long-established engine of survival. The penultimate purpose of life. While your primary purpose in life is to survive, your secondary purpose is to replicate. In humans, natural selection has favored a method of replication that allows for genetic variation. Just as a superior basketball player, limited by lousy teammates, must escape and join a better team in order to win, so too must a superior gene escape from its inferior gene mates and be given a chance to join a better genetic team for its continued survival. This method of escape is called crossbreeding. Over successive generations, crossbreeding ultimately has allowed you, that is, your genes, to anticipate changes in a dynamic physical and social environment, thereby increasing your chances for survival. Put simply, replication is a means of continued survival. Your purpose in this life. You are a biological machine. Your motives in this life are simple, but not simplistic: to live and love. In order to crossbreed successfully, you must acknowledge that in the absence of revolutionary and unforeseeable medical advancements, one day you will die. Question. Without calculating, just by feeling, how many days do you think the average American lives? A. Tens of thousands of days. B. Hundreds of thousands of days. C. Millions of days. D. Billions of days. Do not continue until you have chosen A, B, C, or D. Answer. A. Tens of thousands of days. In fact, only 28,251 to be exact. You have, on average, 28,251 days to live out your life. This assumes you are smart enough to survive this long. Even if you live to be 100, that still only gives you 36,500 days. The universe requires only two things from you: that you survive and that you replicate. Your challenge is to replicate before your limited lifespan naturally expires. The most logical course of action is simple. Acknowledge the need to accelerate the learning curve through disciplined focus. Obtain useful SNR strategies from others. Through practice and training, internalize this knowledge into your automated motor response for practical real-life application. There are many ways to help you survive. One such way is to learn the martial arts. There are also many ways to help you replicate. One such way is to learn the Venusian arts. The martial arts, the art of war, are really the arts of self-defense. They are disciplines that aid survival. Martial, Roman god of war, of relating to or suited for war or a warrior. The Venusian arts, the art of love, are the arts of picking up a woman you had not previously met and successfully beginning an intimate relationship with her. This is a discipline that aids replication. Venusian, of or relating to the planet Venus, Roman goddess of love and beauty. Training for survival or replication. There is more to winning a fight than simply punching first, and as any martial artist knows, the naturally stronger person does not always win. Preparation and training can mean the difference between survival and dying. Similarly, successfully beginning a sexual relationship requires more than just good looks. Expertly executing a good game plan that arrays all necessary variables can mean the difference between successful replication and having your genes unapologetically weeded out of existence. Although opposites, the martial and Venusian arts also possess many parallels. Both are disciplines in dynamic social interaction, and each is, for many, a way of life. Both rank proficiency, through colored belts for martial artists and colored charms hung on black cords for Venusian artists. Each also embodies a comprehensive mental component that is expressed through physicality. The difference is that in the martial arts, social interactions are sometimes best avoided. In the Venusian arts, social interaction is a prerequisite to success. Bruce Lee's fighting style, Jeet Kune Do, way of the intercepting fist, is a martial art. Similarly, Mystery's MM, the mystery method, is a Venusian art. Bruce Lee was a legendary martial artist, perhaps the greatest of all time. Yet his life's accomplishments suggest that for him, martial arts were only half of a greater whole. It's no secret Bruce also identified with other socially rewarding pursuits. He was a great actor and celebrity. He was a great leader and a great role model. He was a great teacher and a great father. He was defined as more than a martial artist. Defined by his more social roles, he was also a Venusian artist, and a good one. Dynamic social homeostasis. All social animals, including people, live under constant pressure from two competing interests: protecting themselves from others and aligning themselves with others. When these two interests are balanced, the result is dynamic social homeostasis. Replication could not occur on any scale if men and women overprotected themselves by never leaving home. At the same time, the Venusian arts would be unnecessary if men and women were completely naive and didn't worry about protecting themselves and their loved ones from new encounters. If you have too much or too little of either protection or alignment, you have failed to achieve dynamic social homeostasis, lessening your probability of surviving or replicating successfully. What drives us toward dynamic social homeostasis in the first place? 3 millimeters of convoluted gray matter separating us from the apes, called the cerebral cortex. That is, through natural selection, evolution has designed your mind to emote powerfully and in ways that contribute directly to both survival and replication. Emote refers specifically to a behavioral concept. That is, your emotions carry out an evolutionarily validated strategy that aims to keep you striving toward this perfectly balanced state. This becomes more important all the time because of the population explosion. Today, we have to be more socially intelligent than ever before in human history. After all, human beings' greatest danger on the planet is no longer predators devouring them or a raging waterfall drowning them. It's other human beings beating them in the game of life. Our interactions with other people are as much a part of our environment as rivers and trees, and we've adapted and evolved to navigate these uncharted waters with increasingly sophisticated emotional circuitry. The job of these circuits is to push us back toward homeostasis when we drift too far from it. A biological machine. As noted earlier, you are a biological machine. However, while unimaginably sophisticated and complicated, you are nonetheless an out-of-date model. Put simply, nature has not designed you for the world in which you live. Certainly, our physical environment has changed relatively little over the past 100,000 years or so. Then, as now, the sky was blue, trees were green, sometimes the sun shone, sometimes the clouds rained. It is our social environment that has changed dramatically. Namely, we live in the midst of an unprecedented population explosion fueled by innovations in technology and medical science. As a result, never in Earth's history have so many similarly designed human machines existed at any one time. As of this writing, an estimated 6.45 billion people live on our planet. Experts predict that in only 30 years, that figure will be closer to 10 billion. When I was born in the 1970s, 4 billion people occupied the planet. In the mid-1700s, around the time of Casanova, there were only 750 million people. 10,000 years ago, only 30 million, less than California's current population. Looking further back in time, to around 120,000 years ago, there were only 10 to 40,000 humans living on the planet. Our struggle for survival and replication occurs within a dynamically changing social environment. Ever since humankind came into existence, we have been faced with the challenge of trying to survive and replicate amid an ever-growing number of human competitors. Physical adaptations always lag behind environmental ones. First, the physical world changes. Only then, slowly, does the human body adapt. We're evolved biologically to live in small groups of hunters and gatherers, yet many of us occupy cities teeming with millions. We've been able to do this because the development of culture, tools, language, etc., has enabled humans to circumvent physical limitations in myriad ways that other animals cannot. Consider the new challenges this presents to the human body, given that nature hasn't yet had the chance to recalibrate it, including the behavioral and emotional circuitry that is key for successful replication, for this new social environment. You are, in fact, best adapted for prehistory, 40 and 60,000 years before the present population explosion, when Homo sapiens diverged once and for all from other primates. You are, in other words, a prisoner in time, designed for social structures long since extinct. You may eat at Burger King, fly in airplanes, and surf the Internet, but your genetic coding differs little from that of men who lived in caves and chased dinner holding spears and wearing loincloths. S&R value. You are not the only human being who is designed to survive and replicate. In fact, everyone, women included, harbors the same basic instincts. People form social alignments with one another whenever such arrangements benefit or enhance each person's chances of survival and replication. Our attraction circuits are, in fact, genetic judges of the S&R value of others. All humans possess a built-in motivation to stay away from people with low or negative social value. In contrast, we may vastly improve our chances for survival and replication if we proactively seek out and form partnerships, both sexual and non-sexual, with those who offer us a high S&R value. These people would include the rich friend who loaned you money when you were broke, the socially connected acquaintance who got you into the party, the buddy who protected you from that bully, the physically fit woman who had sex with you, even the mentor who taught you how to pick her up. All are said to have high social value, and we are hardwired to seek alignment with them. We may draw value from other people by influencing them to help us, but in a fair exchange, we must work to improve their chances as well. If one were to take too much from the other person, he or she would lower the other's chances of survival and replication. When a woman agrees to align with you sexually, she is agreeing to trade her replication value for your value. Such fair arrangements may last many years. Approach anxiety. Have you ever asked yourself why it is that you get an overwhelming urge to mate with a woman possessing high replication value, and then almost simultaneously get an equally overwhelming urge to run away? This behavior seems illogical and counterproductive. After all, rejection causes little harm. Emotionally, however, rejection can be a brutal experience, lasting hours, weeks, and even months. This fear is known as approach anxiety. Fear of reprisal. One reason for approach anxiety is the possibility that a woman may already be taken, and the implications this might have for one's well-being, even survival. In tribal times, if you hit on a woman, and her man happened to possess loyal friends, he could convince several of them to each drop a big rock on your head and leave you for predators in an effort to protect his investment. Fear of rejection. To fully understand approach anxiety, we must first look at the ancient environment for which we are designed. In tribal times, only a small, select number of women in any given tribe were available for breeding. If a man approached one of them, and then accidentally said or did something that conveyed a low or negative S&R value, he faced the real possibility of all the other women in the tribe eventually hearing about it. No longer believed to possess S&R value for any woman, the man would simply never mate, weeding his genes out of existence. This real-world social pressure extends so far back in humanity's past that we have evolved acutely sensitive mental mechanisms to protect ourselves from losing social value in this way. Even though our logical minds tell us that laws protect us from reprisal and rejection in our modern social order, many great pickup artists agree. The fear of a cold approach never goes away. It's hardwired into your brain. Confidence is not the objective. Competence is. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Bound by the human condition, you have a hierarchy of needs, and everything you do results directly or indirectly from emotions that demand that you and your target meet them. Established by noted psychologist Abraham Maslow, this theory says that human beings are motivated by unsatisfied needs. What's more, he says, in a hierarchical fashion, certain lower needs must be satisfied before higher needs can be. Think about it. If you were choking on a sandwich right now, your need for oxygen would be stronger than your need for love. If nobody loved you, it would suck, without question, but you wouldn't die instantly. Physiological. The most basic needs, such as air, water, food, warmth, sleep, and sex. Safety. Establishing stability and consistency in a chaotic world. In modern times, this is mostly psychological. Love, the need to belong. People desire to be loved and accepted by others. Esteem. This internally generated feeling usually results from achieving competence in or mastering a task. Attention, recognition, and social status come from others. Self-actualization. We desire to become everything that we are capable of becoming. People who have met all of their lower needs can then maximize their potential. Vital areas of focus. To meet each of your needs and satisfy your highly evolved emotional system, thereby fulfilling your purpose in life, you must focus on 3 vital areas. Every time you have marked success in any of these areas, your mind rewards you with a feeling of happiness. This simple model is as old as the Kabbalah, and success in the 3 areas of health, wealth, and love will ensure your survival and replication. Health refers to both the body and the mind. You need a proven method or game plan to maintain your health. Wealth helps you to maintain your health and your relationships. You need a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food in your stomach. Additional creature comforts assist in your survival and replication. An apartment may keep you warm and dry, but also provides a private location for sex. A vehicle not only enables you to make money, but also improves your romantic options by extending your effective range. You need a proven wealth-building game plan to achieve financial independence and to fund your game for romantic pursuits. It also costs money to purchase a gym membership, dress well, and socialize at a nightclub or restaurant. Love refers mainly to your romantic relationships, but may also extend to friends, family members, and business relationships with associates. If you want to have successful, loving relationships, you must study them. Any area can be maintained, improved, or neglected. Your success in each of the 3 areas can be rated on an ascending scale from 1 to 10. Rate a 10 in any area, and you need only maintain it. Anything below a 10, and you must devise a way to improve your success in that area. If you neglect an area too long and your rating falls too low, the quality of your entire life will decline. Each vital area of focus is connected to the other 2 areas in countless ways. Health, wealth, and love share an intimate relationship with one another. Success in any one vital area will positively affect the other 2. In fact, to improve in a certain area, sometimes you must first focus on and improve another area. For example, you can increase your success in love by maintaining or improving your wealth as well as your health. People who are healthy, fit, and energetic in social situations project a higher replication value, and thus are more likely to connect with and attract those around them. At the same time, neglecting to maintain any one area will negatively affect the other 2. When you neglect any area for too long, the ill effects can quickly infect a second area, which in turn can infect a third, and so on. This runaway chain reaction is called spiraling, and if left unbridled, can undermine your life's prime directives. Rationing your time equally among all 3 vital areas is crucial in preventing a downward spiral that can lead to a great collapse, sickness, poverty, and loneliness. I've seen people all around the world whose lives have spiraled into dismay. Health neglect. If you have wealth and success in love, relationships, but are lacking in health, mental or physical, eventually you'll have decreased success in the areas of wealth through lowered productivity and energy levels, and relationships. People who don't respect themselves are seldom respected by others. Unhealthy people are simply not attractive. Wealth neglect. If you have health and relationship success, love, but fail in the area of wealth, Eventually, you won't have the resources to sustain love, unable to pay cover charges, for instance, or the means to maintain health, proper food, healthy physical environment, and exercise equipment. A big bed in your own condo not only allows you to sleep better than on your parents' couch, health,